All right, time for a little update video. Now that this whole tumor thing is behind me, or at least, as behind me as it can get given the situation, I kind of wanted to walk everyone through and just remind myself in the future when I come back, just, how everything kind of worked out. So let's start at the beginning. Let's start when I first moved in here. A couple of days after that, started getting headaches, which quickly turned into migraines, which quickly intensified, which no matter what I did not help. Like it did not go away. I didn't understand. And, I kept throwing up because of it. It was so intense. In fact, I threw up 27 times in about a week and a half. And the last day and a half, I threw up 8 times in one day and then 3 times in the other day. And then I called my pivot nurse, explained the situation. She's like, yeah, okay, this is not normal. This is the point where you should go at the emergency room, get yourself checked out. And then I went there, and then the whole process began. So got there, checked in, did an a CT scan, and eventually about 9 hours later, that's when I got the results. All right, we found at least two tumors in your head. We're going to need to keep you overnight. We're going to start giving you drugs to reduce the swelling and everything. And yeah, so at that point, I was like relieved. I'm like, okay, cool. At least we know what it is. Obviously, tumors in your head is a scary thing to hear, but at least kind of like the cancer, it was a relief. Well, at this point, I don't know, about 9 months ago when I first found out, it's like, things weren't going that well for a while. It's like, I was coughing a lot and, I was out of breath and everything. And then that happened. It's like, okay, that makes sense. Then I got the migraines. It's like something is wrong. And then, okay, yeah, tumors in your head sucks, but at least it explains what's going on. And now that we know what's going on, we can find a solution. So that first night, I spent. Well, they moved me to like three, four different rooms, but anyway, um, spent the night in the emergency room and the one ICU room, and then they switched me to another one. And the next day was the worst. Like that day, they gave me drugs and it started to work, and I started to feel a little better. And it was the first time that I was feeling not horrible in the last week and a half. But the next day, for some reason, whatever drugs they were giving me just wasn't working. It takes a while to act, and it just, man, it was an intense day. But at least I didn't throw up. I haven't thrown up a single time since I went to the emergency room, so that's good. So after that, spent a day in another room. At the end of the day, I mean, I spoke to a couple different doctors, went to do an MRI, spoke to radiotherapy surgeon, sorry, not surgeons, radiotherapy doctors, experts. I'm not quite sure what the official term is. And they came, they explained the situation. They were like, all right, we don't know. It looks like there's only two. There could be more. That's why we're doing the MRI. If there's more than two, we can't do open skull surgery. But if there's only two, sometimes they choose to do it anyway. And the reason why, I didn't know this at the time, but the reason why they were considering open skull surgery is because I had an edema in my head, which, is swelling. And it got so intense that they're like, this might be the only way to relieve the pressure for now. So later I found out after everything that I could have had that for at least weeks, if not months, which explains why I've been feeling kind of out of it and crappy the last couple months. And yeah, it's just because it had been probably that long. That's probably why it had time to swell and everything, and it got to the point where it's so intense. So okay, did the MRI, spoke to the doctors, then waited for the results. And during that time, I was transferred to another room, another department, more long term. The room was much bigger, much nicer, much quieter. I was able to actually sleep somewhat, and I say somewhat because the drug that they gave me to remove the swelling that I'm still taking now is I don't know how to describe it, but it's basically an excitement. It excites your body, which means that it makes it very difficult to sleep. So in the hospital, I hadn't been sleeping well for weeks at that point, and given everything, it was just intense. Like I managed to sleep in the hospital, but yeah, it's definitely not the best drug, not the not the one you want to be on. But it reduces the swelling and gets rid of the pain. So definitely a drug you want to be on. Just the side effects suck. So spent another 2 days there. So showed up on Wednesday. Sorry, Tuesday. Was there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I left on Friday. I got the results of the MRI on Friday. As expected, there was only two tumors. I didn't know about the edema at the time, but they were like, "All right, we're not going to do open skull surgery. We're going to do radiotherapy, which is basically let me kind of show you. Uh, Put you in a mask like this. So what they did was when I went for the MRI to prepare everything, they heated this up, they molded it to my face. And then during the radiotherapy, that's what they used to hold my head in place to make sure that I wouldn't move, to make sure that the lasers hit exactly the right spots and that everything went well. So Friday, finally got to go home. Saturday, Sunday, I got to relax. Well, relax. Because I was still taking the drugs. And as I was saying, the drugs make it difficult for me to sleep. So for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 days at least, if not a week, um, I've been sleeping anywhere between 1 and 4 hours if I'm lucky. And I'm not talking about deep, restful sleep. I'm talking about the kind of sleep where you wake up more exhausted than when you went to bed. But, it's life. So, all right, so I came back Saturday, Sunday. On Monday, I had my immunotherapy treatment, but that had to be postponed because of the drug that I'm taking. So we're going to do that in a couple weeks. And then on Monday, I went to get, not this mask done, another one that's very, very similar. And then they called me back at the end of the day saying, "Hey, can you come back in again tomorrow? We need to use a different mask." So I went back in on Tuesday. And then, on Wednesday. And then Thursday, I got to stay home once again. Friday was what's the word? Treatment, I guess, because it's not an operation, it's not a surgery. So yeah, I guess treatment. So they went, they used this mask, laid me down on a table. You're kind of lying, a slab with your head strapped into this. There's like pegs on either side that you have to hold because the table goes and moves as the lasers move around you. And then there's like, I don't know, like a big round thing that kind of like looks down at you, and two more like on the sides that are square. And all three of those things are the lasers, I'm assuming. And they move around you as the table moves. Like it's not really that freaky. It's just like it's an experience that I'll probably, I hope that I'll never experience again. The worst part was being stuck in this mask, not being able to move. There's like a little mouth guard here and you have to bite down on it and it gets really uncomfortable. But you're like, I don't want to move. I don't want to risk doing anything to screw this up in any way whatsoever. So anyway, the whole thing lasted maybe 20, 30 minutes with the setup and everything. After that, went back out, spoke to the doctor. And that was when I found out, all the information that I didn't have before. So I found out, first of all, that everything went really well. The way that it works is we have to wait 3 months to do another test, and then we can see if lesions return, tumors. But these are basically cured. He's like, there's a 99.9% chance that this worked. So you don't need to worry about these tumors. What you need to worry about is others coming back. And turns out that right before they found a third very, very, very small one, they did it at the same time. He's like, everything went perfectly. It's as good as we could expect. All you need to do is just keep taking the drugs for another 4 weeks, slowly diminishing. And then once you're done, come back in 3 months, we'll do another scan and we'll check that everything's okay. So given everything, I got really lucky. It could have been way, way worse. Now my only struggle, my only problem is the fact that I have a hard time sleeping. but it's really not that bad in the grand scheme of things.